guys, welcome back to my channel. I apologize, I've actually done a few videos today. I've decided to stick with what the original plan was, a video about most memorable characters in fiction, in books. So for me, two of the most memorable characters were in these two books right here. So Fear Nothing by Dean Koontz and Seize the Night, which is the sequel book. So it's a duology, I think they're called. Anyway, so Christopher Snow is the main character. Love him. And I use a character with, it's called xeroderma pigmentosum, which is a condition that makes him a very high risk for skin and eye cancers. Anyone with that condition does not have the enzymes needed to repair their DNA. Any exposure to the sun or any kind of ultraviolet or fluorescent light, so TV, computer monitors, fluorescent lights in the ceiling, we all get damaged by things like that to a much lesser degree, but the enzymes in our bodies will repair the DNA. Anyone who has that condition, their DNA does not get repaired, so it's cumulative effects. So he only goes out at night, and if he does have to go out in the daytime, which he does in the beginning of the book, it's because it's unavoidable. It's really, really great main character for the books. And another character is Bobby Halloway, and that's Christopher's best friend. Bobby Halloway is like the strong silent type, where he's a surfer dude, but brilliant. Not the stereotypical surfer dude, but he wants people to think he's the stereotypical surfer dude. So yeah, I've always had a big crush on Bobby. I feel like my chair's too low. Is that better? Is that better? I feel like I was like looking up the entire time. But anyway, Bobby Halloway is one of my favorite characters of all time. I even like him just a little bit more than Christopher. I don't know what it is about him, but he's got like that, just that right amount of sass. I guess for guys it'd be, he's got that right amount of snark, but still vulnerable side that he doesn't show very much. Christopher knows about it because they've been best friends since they were like 12, I think. I have a friend named Christopher, so I guess that's why I'm calling him Christopher, but Chris, I guess, is mostly what he's called. So Chris Snow and Bobby Halloway, two of my favorites. But another favorite, and he's a new favorite, is Ronnie Akkard. You see that there. Brotherhood of the Blades by A.C. Williams. And I read this back in May or June, I believe. But I loved it so much. I read it as an ebook, and I loved it so much that I ordered the paperback as soon as I could. And now I'm probably going to reread it. Ronnie was one of my favorite characters. He's again got that tough quality, but vulnerable at the same time, and snark. I love snark. What can I say? I like snark. But he was really well written. The story itself is well written by A.C. Williams, so I highly recommend it. Ronnie Akkard and the Brotherhood of Blades. So I'll put a link down below so you can check it out if you want. So let's see. Let's get to the comments. I put a public question on my Facebook asking, in your opinion, who have been the most memorable characters in fiction, in books? I'll do other videos about TV and movies, but in books. And what makes them so memorable? And then there's a little cat. Oh, there we go. Mark Haynes says Harry Dresden. And I have to agree, because as soon as I read that name, I knew who he was talking about. It's been a while since I've read those books, but I knew who he was talking about. I also watched some of the series too, from the Harry Dresden Files. He says he likes that character. Let's see here. He's a strong character, yet still somehow vulnerable, and you can't help but like the guy. I always think of Paul Blackthorne when I read the books. I think I caught some of the series first on Netflix, and then found out that they were books. I always picture Paul Blackthorne in the role of Harry Dresden. He just does such an awesome job. I love that actor. Grace Fox says, does it count? This gives me a chuckle. Does it count if I say Holden from The Catcher in the Rye because of how much I totally, utterly despised him? I wanted to reach through the pages and strangle that arrogant, pretentious little brat. Yeah, it does count, Grace. Memorable, whether it's memorable in a good way or a bad way. Sometimes protagonists, sometimes it's villains, and sometimes it's protagonists who just annoy the crap out of us. So I think he falls in the latter category. I haven't read Catcher in the Rye. I was supposed to in high school. I didn't end up reading it. Yeah. Anyway, I didn't end up reading it, but I did join in the discussion in class, and it kind of made me want to read it, but I just never got around to it. I did buy it recently. Because I do want to read it. This came to me in the mail the other day, and I'm only, how many pages am I? I'm at the beginning of chapter 5, so on page 40. And first of all, I do want to say, one of my nieces, her boyfriend told me, he actually used that same word. I didn't tell him about this comment, and I told him how I was reading Catcher in the Rye, and he said that he got 3/4 of the way through the book and couldn't finish it because he found the main character to be so pretentious. So Grace, you're not the only one. I find him a little bit annoying, and he could be pretentious, and you know, I don't doubt that he is. But one thing that got me about him is, at least for the first 4 chapters, he's constantly talking about how he hates people being phony, and yet he's phony. He'll be all nice to somebody's face, but inside his head he's talking about how much he can't stand them. Except for he's kind of passive aggressive with one of the characters, Ackley, I think his name is. He's passive aggressive with him, and I'm like, dude, you're what you can't stand. What's the... Anyway, like I said, I'm only 4 chapters in, so he's probably, I'm thinking that that's a point of the character and that'll be part of his arc. Or actually, I seem to remember this has a negative character arc. It's an okay book. I shouldn't say that. It's a good book. The character is I haven't decided if I like him or not, but it's a good book. Let's see, what's the next comment? Okay, Laura Latinen says, it's like trying to pick out a favorite puppy. I should have said character or characters, so I apologize. Next time I'll say, you know, you can list more than one. So she says, it's like trying to pick out a favorite puppy. I'll go with Esen of the Web Shifter series by Julie E. I don't think I'm going to say this right. Czerneda, my favorite blue blob. I actually root for her to be a Mary Sue because she could, but for totally reasonable, practical reasons like not wanting to eat her best friend, she isn't. So that description right there had me looking up this series. Let's see if I can find it. Oops, if I click on the right app. Alright, so just gonna put on my glasses for a second here. The description for the first book, I think this is the first book. There's a few different series with these characters. So there was book one that seemed like the characters had already been introduced. This one, Beholder's Eye, says, united in their natural form, they are one, sharing all their memories, experiences, and lives. Apart, they are 6, the only existing members of their ancient race, a species with the ability to assume any form once they understand its essence. Their continued survival in a universe filled with races ready to destroy anyone perceived as different is based on the rules, with a capital R. And first among those rules is, never reveal your true nature to another being. But when the youngest among them, Esen Elite Quar, receives her first independent assignment to a world considered safe to explore, she stumbles into a trap no one could have anticipated. Her only means of escape lies in violating the first rule. She reveals herself to a fellow captive, a human being. While this mistake might not ordinarily prove fatal, the timing of the event could not be worse. For something new has finally made its way into the universe, the enemy of the web, bringer of death to all forms of life, and the hunt is about to begin. And I gotta tell you, Laura, now I want to read that book. I'll put a link in the description below, in case you're as interested as I am. Kim Stover says, Laura Ingalls Wilder will always be my heroine. I was and am fascinated by her frontier family stories. And yeah, I mean, for me growing up, Laura Ingalls she started out in books, and then she was in a series called Little House on the Prairie, and Melissa Gilbert played her. So Melissa Gilbert, Michael Landon, Victor French, whole slew of other actors. A lot of actors got a start on that show. Wayne Scharfenberg says, Scarlett O'Harra from Gone with the Wind. Vain, self-centered, and very spoiled by her wealthy parents, she thinks she can twist every man around her finger to get her way until she meets up with Rhett Butler. He has her figured out and won't tolerate her foolishness. So, yeah, I'm ashamed to say I haven't read that book or seen the movie, but I know it well enough. Oh, got my glasses on here. But I know it well enough to know the characters that you're talking about, and yeah, she is quite spoiled, but I have decided to start trying to read more classics. I haven't seen, okay, so although this isn't really a good excuse because Gone with the Wind I should have watched as well as a movie, but I started out with my writing as a screenwriter. I was trained as a screenwriter, and I found it really difficult going from reading books to writing my screenplays because I was going from past tense to present tense and back again. And so I had to stop reading books for a while, which was really difficult for me because I just devoured books as a kid. My mother would say, you know, why don't we borrow from the library? And I was like, no, I might want to read it again, and I want to have it right there ready to read. So that was the hardest thing about screenwriting for me, is stepping away from books for a while. But now I'm rereading old favorites now that I'm writing novels. And I mean, some books are in present tense, but most of the books, the books that I prefer are past tense. But now that I'm writing books, I can read past tense again. So I'm trying to get back to some of my old favorites and read them, like Anne of Green Gables. I have some books on their way, some new, some old. Timeline is on its way. I'm supposed to get that tomorrow by Michael Crichton. I've seen the movie for that, but I haven't read the book. Paul Walker. He starred in that movie. Anyway, and I just today received The Time Machine by H.G. Wells. I'm reading The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. I also found an audiobook read by Stephen Fry, who I absolutely love. He played the psychologist or he was either a psychologist or a psychiatrist on Bones, and he's just brilliant. I just listened to the introduction for it, and that was the sample that they had, and I was hooked by the introduction. So yeah, I'm going to listen to that. I'm going to start a reading blog soon as well, and just talk about the books that I'm reading. But I just want to have a few more read before I start that. But you know, if that's something that you think you might be interested in, feel free to leave a comment. If you want to recommend books to me, that would be awesome too. I'm trying to read more classics and more young adult. So leave a comment below if you want to recommend a book. I'm trying to build up my books on my bookcase. I have boxes and boxes and boxes of books back home in Nova Scotia. But when I went to school in Vancouver, I could only go with what I could carry on my back. So I couldn't take all my books with me, so I'm sad. But I'm trying to build that collection back up, and then you watch. I'll get it all built up, and then I'll end up moving back to Nova Scotia. Oh, wait, there was one more comment from Kaylee Ray. And let's see. Get cat for a minute. And here is her comment. She actually did name a few. She said the Garrison boys, which are the characters in Toby Garrison Chronicles. So thank you, Kaylee. Team Jake, Team Toby, Team Asher, even though he has a different last name. I love them too. She says, I'm trying to think of some others too. I tend to read more indie books, so the ones that spring to mind aren't probably widely familiar. But like Ronnie and Stan from A.C. Williams' Esen series, which is these guys here. This is one of those books. Stan is in there as well. And Leodora from H.L. Burke's Heart of the Curiosity, and Megan from Emily Gollis's Escape to Vindor was great. Those are the ones I've read recently-ish that spring to mind. And then also some characters like Donnie from the Ninja Turtles, or Kamala Khan, or even Clark Kent are interesting to me. in a different way because the characters have been written by so many different authors and are often treated differently, for better or worse, during different runs or different periods in their history, or different arcs, but still kind of largely maintain their shape, which I think is really interesting. That a character can be so big and have so much integrity that they can be moved and shifted by different writers for so many stories, and there can be so many opinions and schools of thought on them, and still much of the time maintain that core character and personality that we find so compelling. Yes, I agree wholeheartedly. Clark Kent really brought me back. Smallville. I used to be a PA on Smallville. All the actors, all the crew, everyone on that show was just so amazing. Let's see. Yeah, that's about it. Thank you Mark, Grace, Laura, Kim, Wayne, and Kaylee for responding to my question and helping me out for this video. I really appreciate it. So who are your favorite characters? Who are the characters in books that you find most memorable and why? I would love to hear what you think. If there's a topic that you can think of that you'd like me to cover in a future video, feel free to let me know. Could be anything for the author POV series, things about what authors might be doing right or wrong, and I can maybe weigh in and say why it might be happening, or in this case, things that characters are doing, or things that authors are doing right, like creating characters that we remember, good or bad, we still remember them, and that's key, right? If the character is not memorable, then the book won't be either. So it's very important to create compelling characters, whether they're compelling because you love them so much or compelling because you hate them so much. Very important. So I'm gonna leave you with that, and thank you so much for watching. Hope that you'll like this video. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do, and also please comment below. You'd be amazed how much that helps support us as YouTubers and me as an author. You guys have a great day. See you later. Bye-bye. I did it again. Oh, okay. Bye. And Zach, I blame you for this. It's all your fault. Just saying. Bye.